Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on Twitter. My name is Bryson Carver, and this is a pretty important day for a lot of reasons. First of all, it is Good Friday, which I and of course fellow Christians observe and acknowledge and remember. Sunday is coming, of course, and it is also for sports. It is Jackie Robinson Day. As a matter of fact, it's a very significant Jackie Robinson Day because it is the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier, which he did for the Brooklyn Dodgers on April 15th of 1947. One of the greatest days in the history, of course, of sports. And then I've noticed too in Major League Baseball with the Jackie Robinson Day, obviously everybody wears number 42. Number 42 has been retired. But everybody, regardless of what their team colors are, they're wearing a blue 42. At least I saw the Red Sox did that, which obviously there's no blue involved with the Red Sox, but they're wearing a blue number 42 Brooklyn Dodgers colors on the back of their jersey, which I think is really awesome. But it's Good Friday. It's Jackie Robinson Day. And we've got a great show today. So we've got Steph, Draymond. They're talking to Draymond's new podcast, The Draymond Green Show. I'll discuss that in just a second, as well as Kyler Murray. Only NFL story of the day, but it's a big one. Reportedly, he will not play for the Cardinals this season without a new contract. I will discuss why Kyler is the one who's screwing this up, not the Arizona Cardinals, as well as why the Warriors, back to the Warriors, why they need to be super duper cautious with one Stephen Curry as he is set to return tomorrow from injury right in time for the NBA playoffs as they had hoped. I will also, my two last segments of the day, I love doing this. My top 10 NBA players currently. This is going into the playoffs. I'm going to do a list before the playoffs today. And then once the postseason concludes, after the finals are over this, a couple months from now, mid-June, I'm going to rank after the playoffs my top 10 players because, look, we all know it's a fluent list. It moves. It changes. LeBron was at the top of this list for, 15 years? But, that's changed. We've had some other dudes kind of go in and out of that top spot, and I'll discuss that, the top 10 players in the NBA, in my opinion. And then finally, at the end of the show, my playoff predictions for the first round. It's going to be fun, ladies and gentlemen. So buckle up. We got a great show today, starting with my Golden State Warriors. Draymond Green is a podcast, The Draymond Green Show, aptly named. And he had Steph Curry on it in his most recent episodes, an hour and a half interview. It's love it. Two of my favorite players, of course. I grew up with these guys. These are particularly Steph, but these are the guys that the reason I became a basketball fan. Like just watching how they play, how Draymond sets Steph up, the intensity he brings defensively, and Steph Curry. We all know what he can do shooting the basketball from distance. But they were discussing, would Steph Curry trade in the two championships from 2017 and 2018 for the blown 3-1 lead from 2016. So Steph would have less rings, but they wouldn't have blown the 3-1 lead. And Steph, to Draymond's relief, heck, my relief, said no. Which, come on, 3 rings, 2 rings. Like, let's do some simple math here. But they were talking about, whether the 2016 team was the greatest ever in NBA history, even though they didn't win the championship. And then Draymond brought up the 2017 team, which he thought was the best team in NBA history. Take a listen.
To be quite frank with you, I still think we had best team ever. Although we didn't finish it and win the championship, I still think that was the best team ever until 2017.
I was about to say, where we going with that? Because that team was nice.
Until 2017. And then I think that team took over as the greatest team ever. So I think we still accomplished it. Best team ever, but not quite. People take numbers and they want to put the numbers there and say, "Oh, well, the Bulls had 72 wins."
Bro.
Like, exactly, we were the best team ever. I don't care what no one said. I can't see anyone beating that 2017 team. Not even our first, the 15, 16. I can't see anyone beating that 2017 team.
They say in the medical field, I concur.
Mute my mic there. My bad. Steph, Draymond, they said that 2017 team was the greatest team in NBA history. I literally did. This is so weird. Before the NFL playoffs started, the Friday show, I did a segment about why the 2017 Warriors were better than the 96 Bulls. And before the NBA playoffs, I'm doing a segment about why the 2017 Warriors is the greatest team ever. It's crazy. You know, it's nuts how these topics continuously come around. But I will say exactly now what I said exactly in January. I guess that would have been January the 14th, a few months ago. Yes, the 2017 Warriors are the greatest team in NBA history, and here's why. We talk about, okay, who's the greatest team? So you talk about the 96 Bulls. You talk about the 83. People don't talk about the 83 76ers, okay? That team had Dr. J and Moses Malone. Like, Dr. J is easily one of the 15 greatest players ever, easy. And Moses Malone, if he isn't in the top 20, he's no question in the top 25. Like, that team was stacked, okay? You could talk about, I think it was the 87 Celtics. You can talk about the 01 Lakers. Shaq, Kobe went 15-1 throughout the playoffs, blew their way to a championship. I mean, the 2013 Heat was no joke even though they struggled, they had to battle in that 2013 finals against the Spurs, but that was a great basketball team. Lot of choices. But the 2017 Warriors are at the top of the list. Okay. First of all, they won 67 games. So they don't have as many wins as, say, I think it was the 1970 Lakers, if I'm not mistaken. Was that the Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain team? That team had the record for most wins. And then the Bulls, of course, eclipsed it with 72 in 1996. The Warriors in 2016 eclipsed that with 73. So they don't have as many wins as those three teams. Matter of fact, they actually had the same amount of wins as they had 2 years prior when they won their first championship in 2015. But those Warriors, they had the regular season success, 67 wins. They smoked everybody in the playoffs. Shaq and Kobe went 15-1. Steph, Clay, Draymond, KD went 16-1 through the playoffs. Now, in fairness to Shaq and Kobe, the first round was a best-of-5 series, not a best-of-7, and that's why it's 15-1 and not 16-1 in the case of the Warriors. So, who am I to say Shaq and Kobe wouldn't have done 16-1 if it weren't the same format? I digress. But for the Golden State Warriors, okay, they sweep Damian Lillard. It's Damian Lillard we're talking about. This is a bad dude now. Sweep him. And KD barely plays in the series. Barely. They sweep Utah, who had just beaten the Clippers, the Lob City Clippers, the round before. I'll give you the sweep over San Antonio with Kawhi Leonard out, but let's keep it 100% real. Do we really believe Kawhi Leonard by himself would have won the series for the Spurs? No. That goes no further than 5 games. Spurs won a game in San Antonio. I think they were going to lose game 1, the game that Kawhi got hurt, because you could already feel the momentum sort of shifting. And in the NBA Finals, they take on, at the time, the defending champion, Cleveland Cavaliers. This is a team that had just beaten the Warriors the year before. And I will give you the same thing that I gave you 3 months ago when I discussed this very subject. LeBron, Kyrie, Love, the 3 best players in the Cavs, right? The 3 guys that led them to a title in 2016. Every single statistic they put up was better in 2017 than it was in 2016. They were better. LeBron averaged a triple-double. Kyrie basically averaged 30. Kevin Love was a double-double machine. They got beaten 5 games. And 1 was close. 1. That game 3 where KD hit the iconic game-winning 3 that gave the Warriors the lead, and they went on that. I think it was an 11-0 run to close the game. Only close game in the series. Warriors smoked them in game 1, smoked them in game 2, got smoked in game 4. That was their only loss the whole playoffs, but it took the Cleveland Cavaliers having the greatest 3-point shooting game in finals history to do that. And in game 5, the Warriors took control in the 4th quarter and waltzed their way to a championship. Okay. My question is this. 96 Bulls, 2017 Warriors, the 2 greatest teams ever in my mind. I got the 01 Lakers 3rd, probably the 2013 Heat 4th. I think they don't get enough credit for how good they were. They won 27 straight games at one point. That's incredible. 27 straight wins. Heat are on that list. And I would probably go with the 83 Sixers, to be honest with you. That'd be my top 5. I need to do a list on this more specifically later. Okay, what are you going to do to stop Michael Jordan? The answer, nothing. He's Michael Jordan. You're not stopping him. Scottie Pippen's going to do his thing. After that, so Dennis Rodman's going to stop Kevin Durant. Now, I don't know if Rodman guards Durant. It's probably Pippen. Maybe Pippen guards Clay. Who knows? What are you going to do to stop Kevin Durant? Oh, you just rough him up. Really? PJ Tucker tried that in the playoffs. The referees last year let PJ Tucker get away with like 90s, not 80s basketball, 90s basketball. Yeah, he's out here scoring like 50 a game. It doesn't matter. When you're 6'11", can shoot over anybody, are quicker than you're quicker than your defender, you can't stop that. If Kevin Durant misses, I've always said this, unless you block the shot, if Kevin Durant misses, it's not because you play good defense. It's because Kevin Durant missed. It doesn't matter. Okay. So, let's just say KD has a cold night. What you going to do to stop Steph? Second or third greatest ball handler of all time. Greatest shooter of all time. Nobody debates that. Second greatest point guard of all time. What are you going to do? Coming off screens, off the dribble, moving without the basketball. He's going to wear the Scottie Pippen down. He's going to wear, even on a switch, he's going to wear Michael Jordan down a little bit. He dang sure would wear Dennis Rodman down. Or guys like, especially if they get a switch and you got guys like Tony Kukoc on Steph, good luck. Good luck, Kukoc, right? A big guy who moved pretty well offensively, but not on the defensive end. He ain't stopping Steph. Ron Harper, forget about it. Okay, let's say Steph goes cold. What's you going to do to stop Klay Thompson? Guy scored 60 in 29 minutes in one game. Okay, this is the same guy who has the record for the most three-pointers hit in a row without a miss at, I think it was 10. He did it against the Lakers a few years ago. This is a guy who scored 37 in a quarter and did not miss a shot in that stretch. What's he going to do to stop him? And then you got Draymond, who's not an offensive threat in terms of his scoring presence at all, but he's going to get those guys involved. By the way, you got Andre Iguodala coming off the bench, who can, you can't stop Michael Jordan, but at least make it tough on Michael Jordan. He's made it tough on LeBron James, for crying out loud, who's bigger and stronger than Jordan. So Jordan would still get his against anybody the Warriors put on him. We all get that. But Andre Iguodala is a pest, and he is one of the best, on-ball defenders that we've seen. I mean, how many times has he stripped LeBron? If LeBron's going up and he'll, strip the basketball and the Warriors will get out in a fast break, right? Like you're taking me back to 2015-16 when he did that. He won Finals MVP in 2015 in part because he did do that. You got Sean Livingston, who in a Finals game once scored 20 off the bench. The mid-range, Michael Jordan's the best mid-range shooter for both teams. Sean Livingston's number 2. That guy had a lethal mid-range shot and a solid handle as well at 6, at his height, about 6'6", 6'7". Neither team had a great center. I mean, Warriors had Zaza Pachulia. I think was Bill Wennington still there with the Bulls in 96? I'm not sure if he was or not. So I think sometimes, and look, I think Michael's the GOAT too. I do. I think it's Michael and then LeBron. But sometimes we get so mystified with, because Michael Jordan's the GOAT, there is no challenge you can't overcome. The Supersonics, who were a good team. I mean, you had Gary Payton, you had Sean Kemp. You had dead left shrimp. You had a solid group there. They took him 6 games. Think about this. The Chicago Bulls in their 1996 championship run, they never faced a Game 7. Everybody talks about part of the legend of Michael Jordan is he never saw a Game 7 in the finals. That's true, and yes, that adds to his legacy. But if we're talking about that specific team from that specific season, the Bulls never saw a Game 7. The Warriors never saw a Game 6. Think about that. They never saw a Game 6. And keep in mind, the Bulls had a 3-0 lead. Lost Game 4, lost Game 5. Game 6 was iffy up until like the last 6 minutes. If you go on watching these hardwood classics that they play on NBA TV all the time, like that was, the Sonics were pushing them. So I think sometimes we do get too mystified by the legend of Michael Jordan as opposed to the player. The player is the GOAT. Not disputing that. But the legend often exceeds the player. Michael Jordan's not beating this team. Now, give him Shaq, give him Duncan, give him Magic. Okay, we got a different conversation now. But no, the 96 Bulls aren't beating the 2017 Warriors. I honestly think the 2001 Lakers would give them a better run for their money. Honestly. What are the Warriors going to do to stop Shaq? There is no player in the history of the game of basketball that could have stopped Shaquille O'Neal. None. Hakeem gave him troubles at times. He did. But in terms of just flat out stopping prime Shaq, nobody's going to do that. Great footwork. Obviously, we know the backing dudes down. He had that nice teardrop. He could dunk on your head and ridicule you for it. Kobe Bryant. Now he wasn't like prime Kobe at that point, but he was still a great player, still a top 5 player in the NBA, even when he wasn't at his apex as a basketball player. Mid-range crossover. He was Michael Jordan 2.0 was Kobe Bryant. We all understand that. But yes, the 2017 Warriors is the greatest basketball team that's ever been formed, ever, without a question. But to go to something that Steph and Draymond were talking about, what kind of led them into that? We're the greatest team ever. That 17 team is the greatest team ever. Because I've heard some people in the media say, because some have talked about, Steph trading in, would you trade the 2 rings from 17 and 18 in for the 2016 championship? And Steph said no. Some people out there have said yes. First of all, I think that's absurd. Yeah, you don't have the 3-1 lead blown. You don't have all the memes and all that, but you got 3 championships over 2. I'm taking the 3 over 2, and Steph recognizes that. But I will also say this. Golden State does not become the greatest team ever in 2017 unless they lose that finals in 2016. And I can say that as a Warriors fan. Because I don't care what anybody says. There is no way in where that KD is joining the Warriors if they win in 2016. There's no way. Back-to-back championships, the second of them coming off of a 73-9 season, beat LeBron twice in the finals. The best player on the team is a unanimous MVP that's never been done before, and you're going to join them? There's no way. There's no way that happens. That would be like if the Bucks won the next 2 championships and Jason Tatum said, you know what? Of course, Tatum's not the level of KD. So let's say Luka. That'd be like if the Bucks won the next 2 championships with an MVP and Giannis, and Luka Doncic said, yeah, I'm going to join them, and they beat me in the finals. It'd be like, huh? Like, that's part of the reason, just stepping back as a basketball fan, forget I'm a Warriors fan, as a basketball fan, why I didn't have an issue with KD going to Golden State. Because look, they lost. They lost in the finals. Barely, but they lost. But then adding KD, it was just, like I've heard a lot of former players say, I remember Andre Iguodala was being interviewed. I forgot what podcast it was on. Might have been JJ Redick's, but he was telling Iguodala, saying, I don't think you guys realized what everybody around the league was thinking when KD signed. We were all just like, it's over. Y'all just went 73-9, lost the championship by the skin of your teeth in the last minute of a Game 7, and you added the second or third best player in the world. Like, really? Really? And you didn't have to give up any of your best players in order to get him because he was a free agent. But yes, 17 was like my best year as a sports fan because of the Warriors. That was it was great because it was a stress-free playoffs. Stress-free playoffs. Didn't have to worry about any of it. Like, I thought the Cavs could take the Warriors deeper than 5 games, but after watching the first 2, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a mismatch. And this is the exact same Cleveland team that had just beaten Golden State the year before. And LeBron was better the year after, and Kyrie was better, and Kevin Love was better the year after in 2017. I'm just saying. Steph and Clay are right on the money without a question. All right. Moving on to the National Football League. Moving on to one Kyler Murray, quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals. Some suggest he might be the former quarterback of the Arizona Cardinals soon. I don't think that's going to be the case. But a report from Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network said that Kyler Murray is not expected to play unless he gets a new deal, per sources informed of the decision, because the Cardinals have yet to make a contract offer to Murray, whose agent Eric Burkhart informed the team weeks ago he was pulling his opening proposal off the table. Again, that's a report from Tom Pelissero. So, first of all, I think we are seeing a holdout coming, and I will say this: Do I think the Cardinals should pay Kyler? Duh. We see what this guy can do. What are we going to give him? 5'10" in cleats? but he's still got a rocket arm. He's not deadly accurate, but he's fairly accurate. Obviously, we know about the athletic skills, being able to move in and out of the pocket. He's just as dangerous as a slot receiver once he gets out of the pocket, once he takes off running. The Cardinals have gotten better and better every year with him at the helm. We know Kyler Murray can play. Nobody's disputing that. But I think he's handling this contract negotiation situation poorly, because what Lamar Jackson is making the mistake of, and I see it in politics a lot. Like, the best politicians, what they do, if it's like, if let's say we're talking about a president, I'm doing the Carving Up U.S. President series, so be sure to check that out. But if a president wants to get a law passed, say he's a Democrat or say he's a Republican, he wants the other side to go along with him, but they won't budge. Oftentimes, the best politicians, they go out and they rally public opinion. Because if the people on your side, I mean, what are you going to do if you're the opposition? What are you going to do? So you're going to continue to say no and lose your next election? You're not going to do that. You won't have a choice. Kyler Murray's making this mistake. Like, this is what Dak Prescott did last year. That was masterful with Jerry Jones. And listen, Steve Keim's a great general manager. Good at his job. He's not the negotiator that one Gerald Wayne Jones is. This is like kind of like the Godfather, if you will. And what Dak Prescott did is he rallied public opinion, because he said, okay, I'm not going to hold out. I'm going to continue to be a great leader. I'm going to be myself, going to be there for my teammates, going to go out here, win games, get to playoff games, win playoff games. I'm going to do what I do. I'm going to let my performance speak for itself. Now, part of it was not in Dak's control. The injury was not in Dak's control. Obviously, it was a freak play. Don't even want to talk about it. It was nasty. But everybody in the NFL, every NFL fan, all the execs, all the players, they see Dak carted off the field in tears, crying his eyes out because he just wants to be on the field. That, to me, made the decision. Obviously, Dak had to rehab from that. The Cowboys had to see that he was going to be back to being Dak Prescott, and he was going to make a full recovery, which, of course, he did, thankfully. Public opinion, right? Like, this is what, in some ways, Aaron Rodgers did. Because I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan. You know that, all the nonsense from last season. But what Aaron Rodgers did was last offseason, quiet, didn't say much, talked about his teammates, talked about the coaches. I love my teammates. I love my coaches. It's about the people. The organization just has to realize it's about the people. And what do you know? The people, including yours truly, initially was on Mr. Rodgers' side. What did Aaron Rodgers get a month ago? The richest contract in NFL history. Public opinion matters. Kyler's messing up here. We saw the statement that he and his agent came out with. We saw that he deleted all the Cardinals posts off his Instagram, unfollowed the team, unfollowed his teammates. This is where he's messing up. This is where Dak excelled. This is where even Aaron Rodgers excelled. Kyler Murray is really messing himself up here. Now, do I think that... Now, I don't know what Kyler's asking for. So I'm not going to speculate on that until we know for certain. But is he worth the money of a top-tier franchise quarterback? Yes, 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 he is. But is he playing the situation poorly? Yes, he is. No question about it. I mean, I love Kyler as a talent. I wasn't that high on him coming out of Oklahoma, but he is, without a question, proven me wrong. He has shown that he is clearly a franchise quarterback in the National Football League, but public opinion, I think it's something that people don't talk about enough. It's what our politicians today flat out don't get. It is what this quarterback doesn't get. Some do, some don't. Have a good pulse on the situation. Kyler does not have that. I tell you though, I mean, another contract negotiation going on that's like kind of weird is the Lamar Jackson thing in Baltimore. It's like, are they going to pay him or not? What's he asking for? Because look, $40 million is the market now. It just is. Derek Carr got $40 million. Deshaun Watson, Dak, Josh Allen, Rodgers got $50 million. Mahomes got $45 million. Like, this is the market. This is the reality of the NFL today. This is what you got to. Justin Herbert's going to get $40 million. Joe Burrow's going to get $40 million. Right? Lamar Jackson did win an MVP, right? Like, I'm not, and I think he won it unanimously in 2019. He has won a playoff game, so that, that monkey's off his back. He has improved his throwing of the football. Is he as precise as a Burrow, as a Kyler, as a Herbert? No, he's clearly still got some work to do. But this is a guy who's won like 80% of his games. That's got to count for something. And he's not like the Jimmy G thing where, Jimmy G comes in, throws a pick, throws barely for 100 yards, and the Niners still win. No. Like Lamar Jackson, we talk about the running game. Lamar Jackson is the biggest part of the Ravens running game because they run that Greg Roman offense that Greg Roman ran successfully with Colin Kaepernick back in San Francisco, where if the quarterback is a dual threat, he's dangerous. But Lamar Jackson's got J.K. Dobbins in the backfield, and he's got years ago he had Mark Ingram in the backfield. Oh, gosh, what am I going to do? So that's where he's so dangerous, and I'm not sure what the Ravens are doing. Is it the vax stuff? Is it the fact that he got injured last season? I don't know, but I'm paying Lamar. I'm paying Lamar Jackson, no question about it. He did just win an MVP a couple of years back, right? He did just win a playoff game a year ago. He did. People forget this. In an AFC that is loaded, that is better than the NFC without a question, Lamar Jackson led the Ravens going into November, going to like mid-November, led them in at the time the best division of football, or the best division in the conference, the AFC North. Now it's the second best division in the conference. Ravens have the best record in the AFC. Lamar goes down, they miss the playoffs. So we know Lamar Jackson's value, and that kid, Tyler Huntley. Remember Tyler Huntley came in for Lamar, looked good, almost beat the Packers. He played decent against the Rams. He looked all right. Tyler Huntley's going to be in this league for a while. But despite his good play, he didn't make the play that Lamar Jackson can make. So yeah, Baltimore, give that dude a deal. What are you doing? And Baltimore's a well-run franchise too. Ownership, phenomenal. For years, obviously Ozzie Newsome was the GM. Few better drafters in the NFL than that guy. And GM spot is occupied well even to this day. John Harbaugh, excellent head coach. So give Lamar his money. John is putting me on the spot. He says Lamar or Dak. I'm going to go with Dak. I think the fact that, look, Lamar and Dak, one thing they have in common, they both won a playoff game. Now, obviously, Lamar's got the MVP advantage over Dak. But what I would say about Dak over Lamar, nobody would debate this. He's a better thrower of the football. He is more accurate than Lamar Jackson is. And I think when you look at the fact that, does anybody think the Cowboys are better run than the Ravens? The 2 years leading up to Lamar Jackson, the Ravens were good. Joe Flacco was falling off big time. They were good. They were right in the doorstep at the playoffs in 2016, 2017. Dak goes out in 2020. The Cowboys are a disaster. The year before they draft Dak in 2015, disaster. So that'd be the case I'd make. I need to rank quarterbacks pretty soon because I know we're like going right into the heart of the NBA playoffs, which I'm going to make my predictions for later in the show. Don't miss that. And ranking my top 10 NBA players. I need to rank my top 10 NFL quarterbacks because given the postseason, given the strides that some dudes made and some dudes didn't make, that top 10 list is tough. What Joe Burrow did, what I have Matthew Stafford, I think, at number 10. He's definitely going up high on my list because of the run he put on the playoffs, leading the Rams to a Super Bowl. I absolutely think Dak's a top 10 quarterback. I think he's probably around 8 or 9, maybe a touch higher, but I'll have him right there at 8 or 9. Is Lamar top 10? I don't know. I have to sit down and put together a list. But that is a very good question, John. I appreciate you putting me on the spot like that because I love Lamar and I love Dak. Like those are my guys. I defend those dudes like crazy on this show. John said I'll rate Lamar over Dak, but personally I'll take Dak. All right, yeah, I respect that. Obviously Lamar has accomplished more than Dak with the MVP. But I think if you said like you said, John, are you who are you gonna start your franchise with? I think most, not all, it wouldn't be like a clean sweep, but I'd say more than half of general managers in the NFL would go with Dak Prescott. I think I could be wrong on that, but I mean certainly I would. You would, obviously, John. I think GMs would share our sentiment. Moving on back, let's cross back over to the NBA. We'll spend the rest of the show. So, and back to the Warriors. We're not talking 2017. John, you missed the 2017 Warriors versus 96 Bulls discussion. We'd have beat y'all, no question. But neither here nor there. So, Steph Curry, according to reports, according to Steve Kerr himself, is most likely going to play tomorrow, make his return from injury. Ironically, it wouldn't be exactly a month, right? I don't know, about a month after the injury to his foot, which he suffered in a game against the Boston Celtics in the middle of March, in the middle of a game they were playing in San Francisco. Steph has been out since, and he's reportedly going to come back. According to Steve Kerr, they had a scrimmage yesterday at practice, and Steph played in 6-minute spurts. So, and Steve has made this clear, he's going to be on a minutes restriction, and he absolutely should. Absolutely should. Because here's my thing. I think if Steph did not play a game in this series, I would take Golden State in 6. Because we know Steph's impact. A limited Steph Curry, Golden State in 5. Steph, sweep. Which you'll know what I think Steph is going to do. It will be reflected in my predictions for that series and, of course, the other series later in the show, at the end of the show. But they should absolutely be careful with Steph. If they are in a series against, let's say Luka was healthy, because, man, Luka goes down. This is a killer for Dallas. But let's say Luka is healthy and they're playing the Dallas Mavericks. You better have Steph. You better have somebody who can counter Luka blow for blow in these close playoff games. Because if the Clippers don't have Kawhi last year doing what he did, in those big road games in Dallas, Clippers don't win that series and the Mavericks move on. I mean, it took Kawhi playing the best I've ever seen him play personally for them to beat the Mavericks with how Luka played. And that was not a great Dallas team by any means. Porzingis was bad and Hardaway was up and down. Luka was phenomenal. But because you're playing Denver, you got one great player, Jokic, and then guys. Aaron Gordon's one of the best dunkers I've ever seen. He's a guy. Love Austin Rivers. He's a guy. That Campazzo guy who's what looks like he's 5'2". He's not that short, but I mean, not easily the smallest player on the floor every time he steps out there. He's a guy. So I mean, now DeMarcus Cousins has made a good impact for the Nuggets. And I heard Stephen A. Smith say the other day, and I concur, he deserves more than a 1-year deal. Some team out there needs to give Boogie a 2-year deal. I think he's proven himself these last couple of years that he's not Boogie from Sacramento and then in New Orleans, but he could still play, no question about it. I think he's a starting center in this league. You can't tell me there's 30 centers better than DeMarcus Cousins. That's another conversation for another show. But this is mostly guys outside of one great player in Denver who has shown a tendency to come up small in the playoffs. So Steve Kerr's doing it. Steve Kerr knows basketball as well as anybody in the world. Played it, was a GM, was an announcer, and is a coach, right? So we know Steve Kerr knows basketball better than all of us. He's absolutely making the right decision. Ease Steph back in. You are not going to need Steph. You're going to need him against Memphis. You dang sure going to need him if you get to Phoenix. You don't need Steph to be Steph against the Denver Nuggets. This is exactly why I wanted the Denver Nuggets as a Warriors fan. And I got my wish. Because the way Jordan Poole's playing, the way Klay Thompson's been playing, my Lord. First time in his career he's ever had 3 straight 30-point games. Klay looks like Klay. Draymond looks like the guy who, before he got hurt, was the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. Jonathan Kuminga, most times he steps on the floor, he's the most athletic basketball player on the court. Andrew Wiggins is starting to get his rhythm back. Kevon Looney played all 82 games. That worries me a little bit for his wear and tear in the playoffs, but he's as rock solid a center as you can possibly have, right? So they won't need Steph to be the 2-time MVP, Steph. If he gives you 20, 21 points a game, great. Great. You will take that any day of the week. You could beat Denver, hopefully quickly, to get Steph even more rest before the second round series, assuming that will probably be Memphis, given how the bracket shakes out. But good on the Warriors. They're absolutely making the right decision. Ease Steph back in. Minutes restriction. When will he be at full strength? Probably, I would guess, around maybe game 4, 5, depending on if they get to the second round. We'll see. But, again, absolutely the right decision by the Warriors. I mean, Steph himself said yesterday in a press conference, with the media after practice, he said that his foot is still not 100%. It's still not 100%, so ease him back in. Great move by the Warriors. Let's see. Got a comment here. John's going back to my Bulls Warriors point. He's got the cap emoji saying that's cap. No, it's not. Michael's getting his. I said that earlier in the show. Michael's getting his. However, that's all. Like he's not. What are you going to do to stop Kevin Durant? What are you going to do to stop Steph, Klay? Draymond's going to set all those guys up. That's what I'm going to ride with any day, any night of the week. But, at the end of the day, as a Warriors fan, I've said all season long, this team is going to win the championship. I absolutely still stand by that. But, as long as it all comes down to health. They're healthy. I'm always riding with my Dubs. All right, so lists are very fluent or flippant, I guess would be the better word. It's very, I'm looking for a better word. Interchangeable, I guess would be the best word that comes to my head at this particular moment in time, right? You make a list and it can, based on how you look at things, based on your priorities, it can change. And this is, it can't be any more true than in sports. Like in the NBA, like I said to start the show, LeBron was the best player in basketball for about 13 to 15 years. And nobody argue about that. It's the best player in the world. But now he's not the best player in the world currently. He's gonna be on my list. Don't worry about it. He's gonna be on my list. But when you look at how since LeBron hasn't been the king, at the top of the list, we've had guys like KD in that slot and Giannis in that slot. Kawhi for a second there was in that spot. I think there have been times my man Steph has been in that slot. So, you look at the best players in the NBA. This list, I'm going to already go in and tell you, this list is going to change. My list, at least, is going to change after the finals in terms of 1 through 10. But these, in my opinion, these to me are the top 10 players in the National Basketball Association. Get the music going. Let's start with number 10. I've got the guy who led the Grizzlies to the second best record in basketball, Ja Morant. Ja Morant is my number 10 basketball player, the 10th best basketball player on earth to me. Look, the dude had a phenomenal season. You look at it, he averaged 27 points a game, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, was incredibly efficient. And now, this is why I always say the difference between most valuable and best. Ja, it's not even his fault. His name was taken out of the MVP discussion because the Grizzlies went 20-5 without him. But best and valuable to me are different things. Devin Booker's better than Chris Paul. I still think Chris Paul's more valuable than Devin Booker, even though Devin Booker is incredibly valuable. That's another discussion for another day. But Ja Morant, you look at his drastic improvement. Year 1, year 2, year 3. Phenomenal. And what's scary is the kid is, 20, 22? The guy is going to be a superstar for years to come. Hey, he's going to be maybe next year. Heck, maybe by the end of this playoffs, I'll consider him a top 5 player, but he's right at number 10. I had some other names that I considered, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Kyrie Irving, Trae Young were all in that discussion for me. Paul George as well. But I've got John Morant at number 10. Number 9, a guy who has barely played this year. My dude, Damian Lillard, to me, is still the 9th best basketball player in the world. I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment here, folks. I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment. This is a dude who last year averaged 28 a game. The year before that averaged 30 a game. And do we remember what he did in the playoffs last year against Denver? When his teammates were giving him zilch. His coach, with all due respect, Terry Stotts, did not exactly inspire a great defensive fight from the Trailblazers. And Damian Lillard went out there and dropped 55. 12 threes against Denver. Hit not one but 2 game-tying shots at the end of, he did it in the fourth quarter and he did it in the first overtime to send it into the next overtime period. He is as good as they come. He's one of the 5 best shooters alive. He's one of the best scorers in the game. Damian Lillard, y'all going to see next season, whether it's in Portland, whether it's in LA, wherever it is, New York, who knows. Damian Lillard's that dude. He's my 9th best player in the world. Number 8, the guy who's, to my chagrin, probably going to win the MVP, Nikola Jokic. Now, I can't hate on the guy. He's been phenomenal this season. He's top 10. I believe he's the only player in the NBA this season who's top 10 in every category, averaging 27 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 assists. Now, his assist numbers are down slightly from the last few years, but he's still as good as they come. He's the most skilled in terms of can do all 3, score, distribute, and rebound. He's the best big man probably since Wilt. Anytime you're, in terms of numbers, you're getting compared to Wilt, you're doing something. You're doing something special. And that's maybe not off the court, but on the court, Nikola Jokic is doing just that. Getting the Denver Nuggets to the 6th seed in the playoffs. He's had a phenomenal season. I do not think he is the MVP. That does not mean I don't think he's one of the best basketball players in the world. He's at number 8. Number 7, a guy who has not played, period, this year. Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is a guy who just last year, he averaged 25 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. I believe the 5 assists may have been a career high last year for the LA Clippers. This is a guy who every postseason, we're like, is he the best? I mean, look what he did in 2019. He took the Toronto Raptors to an NBA championship. Got breaks, yes, injuries and whatnot, sickness to Joel Embiid, but he got the Raptors to a title. Last year, before he went down, Kawhi was playing, like I said earlier in the show, the best I've ever seen him play in his entire career. He was phenomenal before he, of course, as he tends to do, went down this time with an ACL tear, and reportedly he is recovering well from that injury. We hope to see him out in the basketball court soon next season. I do not think they should rush him back if you're the Clippers, if they get in the playoffs. But Kawhi, probably still the best two-way player in the game. Can give you 30 and can lock up your best perimeter player. Kawhi Leonard, the claw, the silent one. He is, to me, currently the 7th best basketball player in the world. He'd be easily cemented in the top 5 if he could just stay healthy. The best ability is availability. He's number 7. My 6th best basketball player in the world, just outside of the top 5, Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, who this year I think is 5th. He would be my number 5 guy for most valuable player. He came close to averaging a triple-double. He averaged, 28 a game, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. He's incredibly efficient. You look at what he's done the last 2 postseasons. The one thing that kept him out of the top 5 to me, he still hasn't won a playoff series yet. Now, he's young. He's, 22, 23 years old. His prime is going to go for another decade. His issue has been coming into seasons out of shape. I think he has learned his lesson this time around. He'll come into next season in shape. But Luka Doncic, to me, is the 6th best basketball player on earth. Number 5, the most loved, the most hated player, depending on who you ask, in sports, LeBron James. LeBron James is right in my top 5. He would be at number 3 if he had carried this Lakers team to the playoffs, because it was a poorly constructed team, and he has something to do with that, let's be fair. But this is a guy who, at age 37 in year 19, averaged 30 a game. He averaged 30 a game, folks. Second place to that in terms of 19th season was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He averaged all-time leading scorer, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, greatest center ever. Year 19, he averaged 14 points a game. LeBron averaged 30. Now, were some of those empty calories because the Lakers were not a good basketball team this year? Sure. But guys don't just walk out and average 30. You don't just do that. He had multiple 50-point games this season. He shows he can still play. He's not as effective on the defensive end of the floor anymore. But surround LeBron with shooters, LA, and you'll be in great shape. And get rid of Russell Westbrook. Get a little younger. You'll be back in title contention. He is still, people talk about LeBron can't lead a team to a championship anymore. He absolutely 100% still can. But he's got to relinquish some power, and the Lakers got to do a better job of surrounding him with shooters. Number 4, the guy who wouldn't be mad if he won MVP. Joel Embiid, the best center in the National Basketball Association. He is as good as they come. Led the league in scoring it this year at 30.6 points per game, averaged 12 rebounds and 4 assists. You're talking about probably the most dominant center in basketball. I would put him over Dwight Howard. I really would, since Shaquille O'Neal. I mean, you're talking about a guy who is finally, and knock on wood that this continues in the playoffs, that he could stay healthy. But Joel Embiid, we're talking about a dude who can average 30, can swat any of your stuff down the paint out of bounds. He can shoot. He's got a solid crossover for a big man. But finally, and Karl Anthony Towns needs to learn this, he has tapped into what it means to be a true big in the NBA. And since he has, it has been hell for the rest of the NBA. Joel Embiid is my number 4 player. Now going into the top 3, my 3rd best player in the planet, the easy money sniper, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant this season averaged 30 a game, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. I've always said KD's been underrated for his passing ability. I've said religiously on the show, he's the most gifted scorer in the history of basketball. Okay, 7-footer, can cross you up, can shoot over you, can get to the basket, knocks down his free throws, can shoot it from 30 feet out, 35 feet out in some cases. This dude is an offensive cheat code. If you play NBA 2K, this is the dude who you want. I think he could be any player in NBA history in a simple pickup one-on-one. He's that good. Doesn't matter what you do. He can still put 30 on your head. Like I said earlier, if he misses, it ain't because you made him miss. It's because he missed. He's that great. He's my number 3 player. Number 2, babyface assassin, Steph Curry. Steph Curry, greatest shooter of all time, of course, broke the record for most threes in NBA history this season. You're talking about a dude who is the 2nd greatest ball handler ever to Kyrie Irving, in my opinion. Obviously, I mentioned the shooting. You're talking about a guy who, in terms of pure value, he's easily in the top 3. I mean, the Warriors, every single year without Steph, have a losing record. Like, that's what separates him from the likes of Ja Morant, who is going to be an all-time great. But the Grizzlies are great without Ja. The Warriors are not great without Steph. I mean, they ended the season on a 5-game winning streak without Steph Curry. They still finished 2 games under 500 when he doesn't play. He averages 25 a game. He can drop 40, in some cases 50 on your head. He is a guy that you have to account for at all times. When he and KD, this is what separates him from KD, in my opinion. When they were teammates in 2018, that finals against the Cleveland Cavaliers, when they swept and KD won finals MVP, I thought Steph should have won finals MVP. As great as KD played, Ty Lue, who can coach, we know this, Ty Lue said after the series, they sent more doubles to Steph Curry because as great as KD is, that guy scares us. That guy, especially at home, can bring a house down with his shooting ability. Steph Curry is at number 2, and I think if they win a championship this year, I'm going to put him at the top spot. And at number 1, y'all know who I'm going with, the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, the guy who I think should also win MVP this season. We are talking to a guy who, even if he doesn't win Most Valuable Player this year, he's a 2-time MVP. He has won a Defensive Player of the Year. He has a Finals MVP. Oh, no, yeah, he's, 28? I mean, he's like barely entering his prime right now. He's improved his shooting ability, and he averaged 30 a game, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists. He's a big that averages 6 assists. You add to the fact also that he's the 2nd highest rated player in the NBA in terms of player efficiency rating. So there you go. That is my top 10 basketball players. Those are my top 10 basketball players on the planet. Let's go over them once again. Number 10, John Morant. Number 9, Damian Lillard. Number 8, Nikola Jokic. Number 7, Kawhi Leonard. Number 6, Luka Doncic. Number 5, LeBron James. Number 4, Joel Embiid. Number 3, Kevin Durant. Number 2, Steph Curry. And number 1, the Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I've said since last year's finals, I think he's the best player on the planet. And I think he's showing that once again this season. He is as good as they come without a shadow of a doubt. So let's do something else. Maybe you heard the NBA playoffs start tomorrow. I'm pretty excited. I'm sure you're pretty excited. This is as deep, I think, especially out east, a set of contenders, like true championship contenders, teams that we could see, like, if you really thought about it, you're like, yeah, they could win a championship. Like, we could realistically see them hoisting the I almost said the Vince Lombardi trophy, the Larry O'Brien trophy in mid-June. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got as deep of a pool as we've ever had. So, and by the way, before I predict the playoffs, real quick, we got 2 playing games tonight. I'll predict these super fast. The first game, I can't wait for this one. It actually comes on in about 40 minutes. So certainly after I finish the show, I'm going to go up and watch that. But you got the Atlanta Hawks, the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is a game 7, basically. Win or go home. You win, you're in the playoffs. You lose, and your series is a wrap. The Cleveland Cavaliers are at home, but the road team, the Atlanta Hawks, are 2-point favorites. The Cavs are going to get Jared Allen back, which is huge. However, he is limited physically. Now, yesterday I told y'all I'm leaning Cleveland. You look at how they played Brooklyn, but I also thought, okay, I can't say I liked how they played against Brooklyn and I wasn't entirely impressed with how Brooklyn played. And I think in these do or die games, it comes down to who's the best player on the floor. Not in series necessarily. LeBron's lost 6 finals, and most of those series, he's been the best player. But in a game 7, which this basically is, win, you're in the playoffs, lose, you're done. Who's the best player? And it's Trae Young. We all know that. It's Trae Young. Now, Cleveland is much better than Atlanta defensively. That's going to be a problem. But in terms of dudes on the floor tonight that I'm not going to bet against, even with John Collins out, even with basically no defensive presence whatsoever, with the Cavs starting 2 bigs in Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, who might be the rookie of the year, I just can't see Trae Young losing this game. You know me, don't like Cleveland sports, but part of me does want to see the Cavs in the playoffs, just for the intrigue of it. I'm going to go with the Atlanta Hawks, though. I'll say Atlanta wins. I went 3-1. 3-1 my picks for the first 4 playing games. The only one I lost was the Timberwolves beating the Clippers. I'm going to take Atlanta to win. They'll go from the 9 seed to the 8 seed and in the playoffs, and they'll take on the Miami Heat. I don't know. Score, I think it'll be close. I'll say, 109-106. Atlanta by 3. They barely covered the spread by the skin of their teeth. And in the second playing game, a little later tonight, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific on ESPN. I'm sorry, on TNT, my bad. You got the New Orleans Pelicans and the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, the Clippers were dealt, to me, a death blow this afternoon. Paul George is out tonight in COVID protocols. I said yes. Did I not just say yesterday on the show? And I was thinking, man, I literally just said this. Please, God, don't let COVID play factor in the NBA playoffs. And right before the playoffs start, we're not off to a good start with Paul George, certainly one of the 15 best basketball players on earth, going down. Kawhi's obviously out. I'm not going to bet against the Clippers because they do have Ty Lue, who's one of the best coaches in basketball. Reggie Jackson is Mr. June himself. Remember how he played in the postseason last year? You look at guys like Nick Batum, Luke Kennard. This is a team, I like Terrence Mann. Remember the Terrence Mann game last year, that game 6 against the Utah Jazz? They're deep, and they play defense, and they're well coached, and they're at home, although I don't think that's a huge home court advantage for them because that's a Laker town. Clippers are a much better organization than the Lakers, but that's still a Laker town. I think CJ McCollum has been playing awesome basketball lately. He was phenomenal against the Spurs on Wednesday. Brandon Ingram has been playing well. I'm going to go with the Pelicans. Who's favoring this game? New Orleans is a 1-point road favorite. I concur. As Steph Curry said earlier, I concur. Pelicans win this game 111-106. That's my final score. So what do I have? Hawks 106 over the Cavs. Pelicans 111-106. Both losers have 106. 111-106 over the Clippers. I think the Clippers with Paul George give a better shot. John agrees. He says Atlanta and New Orleans, the two road teams, the 2 9 seeds. But by the way, again, I know I've been putting off my playoff predictions for about 5 minutes now, but can I just give a round of applause and a shout out to Willie Green, who's the head coach of the New Orleans Pelicans. He's a Steve Kerr disciple, by the way, was on that Warriors coaching staff, I believe, until 2017, if I'm not mistaken. He might have been there a little longer. But Willie Green took this team. Were they like 1-12? They were like 1-12 in their first 13 games, and here they are. You win and you're in the playoffs. Are you kidding me? Without Zion Williamson? With a midseason trade to go get CJ McCollum? Respect. You know, make the playoffs, miss the playoffs. This has been a very impressive year, in my opinion, by the New Orleans Pelicans. And my man Willie Green deserves a lot of credit for just that. But yeah, let's see. We got one more comment here. And John makes a good point. He says, shout out to the Cavs too. Great season. I'll go ahead. Let me find the graphic super fast because John was on here when we did our preseason predictions. Where is it? There it is. So here are my Eastern Conference predictions from back in October. Sorry for the YouTube audience. Here you go. I'm sorry for the podcast audience. Here you go, YouTube. Look where I had Cleveland. Last. I had the Cleveland Cavaliers winning 21 games and finishing 9 games behind. I looked at the standings wrong. 2 games behind the Detroit Pistons. But I thought Cleveland was going to flat out suck this year. Because why wouldn't I think that? They've been sucking since LeBron left. But nevertheless, highly impressive season. As you said, John, great season by the Cavaliers. They're absolutely got a very bright future in Cleveland, Ohio. Young core, Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. Marketing's been good for them this year. This Kevin Love has been great off the bench for them. This has been a very impressive season by the Cavs, and a big shout out to JB Bickerstaff, who's done a great job in coaching this group. And I thought if the Cavs could have gotten the playoffs without having to go in the play-in tournament, JB Bickerstaff might have been my coach of the year. He's still done a phenomenal job, even if he doesn't win that particular award. But this is a really good Cavs team with a really bright future. Okay, NBA playoff predictions. Here we go. Let's jump right into it. We are going to start in the Eastern Conference with the Miami Heat taking on either the Cleveland Cavaliers or taking on the Atlanta Hawks. So either way, I think this is going to be sort of a grind-out type series. I think we're going to have some low-scoring games, even if Atlanta gets in because Miami is so great defensively. But considering the fact that Eric Spoelstra's done a phenomenal job this year, best record in the East, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, like I said, he would be before the season, sixth man of the year. Kyle Lowry's brought a great veteran presence to that team, as has PJ Tucker. He's brought an extra nastiness to that team that Udonis Haslam already provided on the bench. For the Heat, and he has been, ever since he's been in Miami. But I think this is a 5-game series regardless. I will take the Heat to win 4-1, win in a gentleman's sweep over the Cavs or over the Hawks. Yes, if the Hawks get in, they got Trae Young, but I just think this Miami team is too deep, too great defensively, best record in the East for a reason, well coached, the whole bit. They will beat the Atlanta Hawks or the Cleveland Cavaliers regardless of who gets in. Moving on now to the series out east that everybody is talking about. Brooklyn Nets, Boston Celtics, the rare first-round matchup where either team we could see getting to the NBA Finals. We don't get this much in the first round. Certainly in the Eastern Conference, we haven't gotten this in decades. We got it this year. Boston was a 500 basketball team, and then once the new year hit, they got hot. Best record in the NBA since New Year's Day. You look at, especially since the All-Star break, Ime Udoka might be the coach of the year. Jason Tatum has had yet another phenomenal season. Jaylen Brown, they missed him last year. They'll have him, obviously, for this playoffs. Marcus Smart might be the defensive player of the year. Now, they are going to miss Robert Williams in this series. Going against the likes of Andre Drummond, Nick Claxton of the Nets, that's going to be a problem not having Robert Williams. So Daniel Tice, Al Horford are going to have to show up. Grant Williams is going to have to show up guarding Kevin Durant. On the other end, the Brooklyn Nets. We know what Kevin Durant brings to the table. We know what Kyrie Irving brings to the table. Although Kyrie has struggled in Boston. We know the history there. We don't have to get into that. He struggled in Boston. What are the role players going to do for Brooklyn? What are guys like, Nick Claxton? What are guys like Goran Dragic, Patty Mills? What are they going to bring you? Bruce Brown, who was pretty good in last year's playoffs. What does he bring you? I think at the end of the day, this is going 7 games. This is going to be a back and forth. Every game, it looks like one team has seized the momentum from the other, and then we'll have the next game, and the team we thought was dead in the water comes back and gets a big win. This is going 7 games. I'm not going to fall for last year's 2 seed versus 7 seed matchup in the West. Remember, Suns, Lakers. We all thought the Lakers were going to get to the NBA Finals, even as the 7 seed, because you had LeBron, you had Anthony Davis. Phoenix came in and beat them. Why? Phoenix was the better team. They were the 2 seed. For a reason. Better coached. Same case here. The Boston Celtics were the 2 seed for a reason, and they are going to win this series in 7 games. Drag out series. Here's the thing. Boston is not quite as good as Brooklyn offensively because of the likes of KD and Kyrie. But Tatum could go out and get 50 just like those two. We know that. Jaylen Brown could give you 30. Right? Marcus Smart, great in the defensive end, can knock down an open 3 because he will get those looks in this series without a question. The Nets are not good defensively. The Celtics were the best team in basketball on the defensive end of the floor. That will make a difference in the series. I think it really does. Home court, to me, does decide the series because Kyrie has struggled in Boston. So I will take the Celtics to end the Nets season in 7 games in the first round. But it is going to... Would I be shocked if the Nets win? No. But I'm going to go with the Celtics. It is going to be a great series. Moving on now to a series that is going to be quick. Let's be real. You got the Chicago Bulls. You got the Milwaukee Bucks. The Chicago Bulls got out to a blistering start of this NBA season. However, their issue has been they can't beat the good teams. And Lonzo Ball's out. So you don't have a true point guard that can control the pace. So you're going to have guys like, obviously, Alex Caruso come off the bench. Lamar DeRozan, who has had a great season. Zach LaVine. You're going to have those guys sort of manning the point guard position, which Lonzo did so well before he got injured. Milwaukee's a team on a mission. There's no question about it. Coming off a championship. Once again, I feel like they are slightly underrated this year. Everybody's talking about the Nets. Everybody's talking about the Celtics. A lot of people talking about the Heat. And they're just forgetting the team that just so happened to win it all last year. I'm going to go with the Bucks in this series. I think it is a sweep. Chicago's going in the right direction, but they're 1-16 against the top 3 seeds in the West and the East. That's not a good combination. That does not work in a 7-game series. I thought about making this a 5-game series, a gentleman's sweep, but let's be real. DeMar DeRozan has struggled in the postseason in his career, so I will go with the Bucks to sweep in this series. The final series in the Eastern Conference, this is also an interesting one. The Toronto Raptors, the Philadelphia 76ers. This is significant because Matisse Thybulle, the best perimeter defender on the Philadelphia 76ers, is out for the games in Toronto because he is unvaccinated. Toronto has their own vaccination rules. So he's gone, and Toronto's best players after Fred VanVleet are perimeter players. Pascal Siakam, Scotty Barnes, right? So they are going to make a big impact, and we know Jurassic Park, Scotiabank Arena, that atmosphere in the playoffs is electric. It is one of the best in the NBA. Canadians love their basketball team. They're nice, and we love Canadians, but they get rowdy during a basketball game. We all know Drake's going to be there getting in everybody's head. It's going to be great theater seeing like Drake and Embiid go back and forth. Sign me up. Get your popcorn ready. But James Harden has struggled in the playoffs. Doc Rivers has struggled in the playoffs. Embiid might be the MVP this season. To me, that's the difference. Toronto, to me, takes a game. Maybe I think that Toronto probably takes like game 2 in Philadelphia. I think then they split in Toronto in games 3 and 4, and the Sixers win both games 5 and game 6. So I'm going to go with the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't feel overly confident in this pick. I have Sixers in 6. Philadelphia wins this series 4-2 over the Toronto Raptors, simply because, look, I think it goes 6 because Toronto is playing with house money and Philadelphia isn't. But I'm taking Philadelphia because they're not playing with house money and Toronto is. Like, Philadelphia's championship aspirations, Toronto maybe in the building they do, but realistically, I mean, do we see the Toronto Raptors this year winning 3 straight 7-game series against the best teams in the NBA? I don't. So I'm going to go with the Philadelphia 76ers to win the series. To the West now. Let's go out West. Starting with the Phoenix Suns, a team that had the best record in the NBA at 64-18, the best record in franchise history. They're going to take on either the New Orleans Pelicans or the Los Angeles Clippers. I think regardless, even if Paul George comes back for the Clippers, if they can win tonight, I think regardless, let's make this quick, this is going to be a sweep. I've got Suns winning 4-0 over the Pelicans or the Clippers. Kawhi, like I say, if you're a Clippers fan and you're mad at this, look, Kawhi's not coming back. What's Paul George going to be like if he comes back anytime soon? That's going to be a factor without a question. And so at the end of the day, I think that this is going to be a pretty quick series for the Phoenix Suns. Listen, they were the best team in the NBA for a reason. They clinched the best record in basketball weeks ago. Best record in basketball weeks ago. They clinched the number 1 seed in the West even before that. So, credit to the Phoenix Suns on what they've done this season. They are a team really on a mission because they were phenomenal in the playoffs last year, had a 2-0 lead in the finals, and then Giannis went off. He just went off, and they lost 4 straight games. Chris Paul is getting up there in age. He wants a championship. Devin Booker, he wants to be called the best shooting guard in the NBA. He wants to be considered a top 10 player, a solid top 10 player in the NBA. And so Phoenix is on a mission. They're going to sweep this series. Moving on to, I guess this would be the youngest playoff matchup in the postseason. Minnesota Timberwolves, Memphis Grizzlies. I mean, for Memphis, you've got your only true veteran is Steven Adams. Your only true veteran with playoff experience, rather, is Steven Adams. On the other end, for the Timberwolves, your only true veteran with playoff experience is Patrick Beverley. So after that, it's kids for the Grizzlies. Ja Morant. I already told y'all he's in my top 10. He's my 10th best basketball player on earth. He's phenomenal. Dylan Brooks. You look at guys like Desmond Bane, Xavier Howard. These are young guys for the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards, Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell. You got guys obviously like Vanderbilt. This is a young basketball team, and both teams are. So I think that this is a series that kind of tips back and forth. I think it goes back and forth over and over again. But at the end of the day, I think the fact that I do worry about Karl Anthony Towns, does he want all that smoke? Because Memphis, we talked about Toronto earlier. Memphis is an electric playoff atmosphere. They have been for years. They're going to be this year, especially considering their team played so well this year. And so when it's all said and done, I think this is a series where the home team wins every single game, but the Grizzlies win in Game 6 at Minnesota. Timberwolves have had a great season given their expectations coming into the season, but I'm going to take those Memphis Grizzlies to win in 6 games, 4-2. Memphis wins this and advances to the second round. Their first playoff series win, what will be their first playoff series win since 2015. Moving on now. These are my guys. My Golden State Warriors taking on the Denver Nuggets. I already talked about Steph Curry earlier. He's going to play. They're going to kind of limit him. He's going to be on a minutes restriction at least early in the series. But this is a Warriors team that's coming into the postseason with momentum. 5-game winning streak. Jordan Poole has been the most efficient guard in the league over the past few weeks. Klay Thompson looks like Klay Thompson, as Brian Windhorst himself said he would back in December, right? 3 straight 30-point games leading into the playoffs, including a 41-piece in the regular season finale. Draymond Green has looked great. He looks like the guy who was the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year before he went down. This is a deep roster. We're talking Andrew Wiggins. We're talking, Gary Payton, Jonathan Kuminga. I mean, this is a deep basketball team. Moses Moody, I think, is going to get some playoff minutes. Kevon Looney. Bielitsa. Like, this is a deep basketball team that it feels a lot like that 2015 team. A lot of guys, but they fit perfectly in the system, led by the superstar Steph, and then the two stars, Draymond and Klay. As for Denver, it's Nikola Jokic. That's it. We saw they ran into Phoenix in the playoffs with just Nikola Jokic. Where'd that get them? They got them swept. And this year, it's going to get them swept. Give me my Golden State Warriors to win 4-0. A clean sweep over the Denver Nuggets, 4-0. I think Steph gives him a great impact. He's not going to look like Steph, coming off this injury. But Klay's been on fire. Poole's been on fire. Kamiga's been great. Draymond's been great. Wiggins is finding his rhythm. What are the perimeter players for the Nuggets going to be able to give them? The Warriors are going to make Jokic a scorer and a scorer only. He's not going to be like LeBron, a scorer and a distributor. And so I think given the coaching by Steve Kerr, this is going to be a 4-game sweep for my Warriors, and they will advance to the second round to take on the Grizzlies. Last playoff series in the first round. This is a tough one because this is one that has a caveat. Utah Jazz, Dallas Mavericks. 5 seed versus 4 seed. These are, of course, very close series. Here's the caveat. How's Luka? He healthy or not? He's going to miss game 1 tomorrow. He's maybe plays game 2. But that injury on Sunday didn't look good. That did not look very promising if you're a Dallas Mavericks fan. And so given that, look, Utah has a tendency to shrink in the playoffs. I talked about that yesterday. But I'm getting 75% of Luka versus 100% of Donovan Mitchell. I'm going to take the Jazz. This is the most reluctant I am in any pick of any series that I've done this first round. But I'm going to reluctantly take the Utah Jazz to win in 6 games. I think Donovan Mitchell, who is kind of under the radar in that he's played so well in the playoffs, especially the last 2 years. I just don't know if Luka's going to be 100%. And the supporting cast, you got Dinwiddie, you got your bigs in Dallas. But I just don't know if that's going to be enough to stop Donovan Mitchell. Can Mike Conley give you anything? Does Rudy Gobert, as my man Barry says, what does he give you? Dallas doesn't have any great, big play compared to that of Rudy, even though he has underachieved in the playoffs. I'm going to reluctantly take the Jazz to win in 6 games. That is my playoff prediction for the first round. I think this is going to be a phenomenal playoffs. We got some first round series that are just downright mismatches. Your Milwaukee's and Chicago's, your Miami and whoever is the 8 seed, Phoenix and whoever's the 8 seed, Golden State and Denver. That Boston-Brooklyn series is going to be awesome. That is going to be awesome. I can't wait for it. I can't wait for these playoffs. But got a couple playing games tonight, and then tomorrow, here we go. The postseason will begin. All right, that is all the time we have for today's show. Appreciate everybody stopping by. As always, be sure to catch Carving Up Live on Monday, as always, at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live, YouTube, and on Twitter. Be sure to catch the Carving Up podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Anchor, as well as wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, check out Carving It Up on social media, Instagram at Carving Up Podcast, Twitter at Carving Up Pod, and on Facebook. Search Bryson Carver, and the Carving Up logo should come up right there. Also, before we go, one last little quick announcement to make. Episode 2 of the Carving Up U.S. Presence Edition will be available tomorrow on YouTube and our regular podcasting platforms. For the YouTube audience, here you go. There's the presidents we're going to be talking about. John Quincy Adams, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, and James K. Polk. So 6 presidents. Episode 2, we got a lot of positive feedback, myself and Isaac, for episode 1. So we appreciate that. And we're going to be discussing 6 more presidents number 6 through 11. So be sure to check that out. You don't want to miss it. Again, it's going to be available tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific. So, if you're going to work on a Saturday morning, just, turn on the Carving Up U.S. Presidents Edition on your drive to work, on your podcasting platforms. And if not, kick back, kick up a chair, get some coffee or breakfast, whatever you do in the mornings, chill and listen to some American history. Why not? Why not? Because like I said, everybody seemed to enjoy episode 1. I think they're going to like episode 2 even better, in my opinion. So everybody have a great weekend. Have a great Easter weekend. He has risen. Amen, amen, amen. Enjoy the postseason, the NBA postseason, which begins this weekend. God bless you all. Peace out. Hallelujah. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube. Be sure to click that big red subscribe button and go check out the other clips and full shows of Carving It Up Live. Have a blessed day.